Afternoon to everyone. This is our special call meeting for the Human Relations Commission. At this time, I call our meeting to order for April the 19th, 2024. And is Carlin here? She's here to take to do roll call, please. And you can reply by saying yay.
Okay.
I'm sorry, by stating present, not yay. I'm sorry.
Chairperson Lee,
Present.
Commissioner Evans,
Present.
Commissioner Haynes,
Present.
Commissioner McKinney,
Present.
Commissioner Preble, Commissioner Price, Commissioner Sarton, Commissioner Taylor, Commissioner Usher, Commissioner Wiggins,
Present.
and Commissioner Zuluaga. She's not here.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Duncan, for the roll call. The reason for our meeting this afternoon is to discuss our concerns in regards to the commission related to some expired terms for commissioners who will possibly be leaving the commission, but also just to get some facts together so we all can be on the same page from the city internal side of it, and also from the human relations DEI side of it as well. With that said, I'm going to ask Attorney Ms. Angela Carmen if you want to begin the discussion. That's fine. I know that you have some information that you'd like to share with us as well, and then the commissioners, if you have any questions or comments, you can also feel free to respond as well. So
I'll be happy to start off. Thank you, Commissioner or Chair Leek. The Human Relations Commission is part of the City Code, is Chapter 2, Division 8. And in terms of the actual membership of the commission, the term of service is 3 years. And based upon Section 2-62 of the City Code, which is not necessarily housed within Division 8, but is at the beginning of Chapter 2, and it applies to all committees, a member may serve 2 consecutive terms. So if your term is 3 years, you'll serve a 3-year term once and then a second 3-year term. So you can serve 2 consecutive terms, after which there has to be a lapse in service. And that lapse in service, if you're applying to the same board or commission, must basically be for a full term. So if your term is 3 years, then you have a lapse of 3 years if you want to be considered for that same board or commission. Now, if you want to be considered for a different commission after serving 2 terms on a committee, and you want to change up and go to a different committee or commission, then the lapse is a year. In terms of how a term is defined, because we have members who sometimes, for whatever reason, decide to resign and they've not served their full term. And if you're appointed to serve the unexpired term of your predecessor, and you serve more than 50% of that term, and if it's a 3-year term, if you serve more than a year and a half, basically that's counted as a full term. So at that rate, then you would be eligible for reappointment for a second term, and then you have to serve a lapse in service. And so looking at each member and when they were appointed by City Council, I've asked my staff person to put together a chart that explains basically the appointment process based upon when council appointed each member, the term that was designated to expire by that appointment process, and whether you've served 1 or 2 terms. And I think we're going to do screen share so she can put that chart up. And then we'll go through each commission member.
Can you all see it?
Are you all able to see that?
Yes.
Okay. So, Chair Leak, looking at the appointment memo for you, you were appointed in November, on November 25th, 2013. And your term expired on December 31st, 2015. That's 2 years. So basically you serve more than 50% of the unexpired term of the person who you were replacing. So that counts as a full term. So your second term, you were reappointed, began on January of 2016, and that term expired in December of 2018. So essentially, you've served 2 terms, and your term was basically up in 2018. So that's why you're not eligible for reappointment to the Human Relations Commission. You've really got to serve a lapse, and you technically not serve that lapse because you've been on the commission consistently since 2018 when your term expired. So you really need to serve a lapse of 3 years before being reappointed to the Human Relations Commission. And then you can serve a lapse of 1 year and be appointed to another board or commission, for example, the Citizen Police Review Board. Commissioner Haynes, sort of the same thing, appointed in November, on November 25th, 2013. Initial term expired December 31st of 2016. So you actually served 3 years. So that's 1 full term based upon the definition in the code. On January of 2017 and went through to the end of 2019. So basically, you've served 2 terms and you've consistently been on the commission since that term, second term expired. So you really need to serve a lapse in service of 3 years before being reappointed to the commission, or 1 year before being appointed to another board. And see, Commissioner Evans, basically you were appointed to serve what appears to be the unexpired term of another member. But again, that one was only 9 months, so that does not count as a full term. Your first full term basically started in January of this year. Same thing for pretty much Commissioner McKinney. Served 9 months in an unexpired term, so it does not count as a full term. Commissioner Preby, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing the name, appointed, it looks like in August, on August 3rd of 2020. Term ended on December of 2022. That's 2 years and 4 months. That's more than 50% of a term, so it counts as a full term. The second term basically started in January of 2023 and will go to the end of December 2025. Commissioner Price, essentially appointed, looks like January 22nd of 2019. Initial term ends December of 2020. Served 1 year and 11 months. Which is more than a year and a half. So it's a full term. And then you see the second term, which basically expired at the end of December of 2023. Commissioner Sarton, the first term was basically 9 months, so it didn't count as a full term. First full term started in January of 2018 and expired at the end of 2020. And the second term commenced 2021, expired at the end of December of 2023. Commissioner Taylor, again, that looks like a year and 11 months. First term, full term, because of the time served. The second term expired basically at the end of 2023. Commissioner Usher, it looks like the first term was serving an unexpired term of a previous member, and that was less than a year and a half. So the first term started in January of 2022 and ran through the end of December of 2024. Or will run through the end of December of this year. Commissioner Wiggins, first appointed, looks like in March of 2027. Looks like, again, filling the unexpired term of a previous member. And that term ended in December of 2019. And that was 2 years and 9 months. And since that's more than 50% of a term, that counts as a full term. So the second term commenced on January of 2022 and will end at the end of this year. And I apologize, Commissioner, help me with the last name.
Problem? Oh, Zugalaga.
Zuzalgo. Okay, thank you. I apologize. That term started apparently in March of 2023, ended in December of 2023, again, filling the unexpired term of a previous member. Since that was only 9 months, that did not count by code as a full term. So the first full term started in January of this year and will go through the end of December of this year, 2026, my apologies. And it looks like there were 2 resignations. So it looks like then, based upon the calculations that have been performed, you've got 2 vacancies, Thompson and Moran, and then you also have members who are no longer eligible to serve, Leak, Haynes, Price, Sarton, and Taylor. Well, hold on one second. Let me go back and look at that. Leak, Haynes, Sarton. Yeah, Leak, Haynes, Sarton, and the 2 vacancies. Let's see. Price is okay. No. I think, see, let me go back and look at this again. Leak and Haynes, clearly more than 2 terms. And let's see. It looks like Sarton is up as well. Keisha, are you following this information?
Yes.
So which ones did you get? You get Leak, Haynes,
Price, Sarton, and Taylor.
Price, Sarton, and Taylor. Okay, because I was right the first time then. So it looks like you have several members then are not eligible. So you got the 2 resignations, Leak, Haynes, Price, Sarton, and Taylor.
And I'll just clarify, the reason they look the way they do is because pursuant to the ordinance, a term runs from January 1 to December 31 of that particular year. So that's why it'll say started on 1 of 2021 and ended on 12 of 2023.
Mm-hmm. So again, just looking at the terms, Leak, because that first term was 2 years, second term, and that was a full term. Second term ended in 2018. Haynes, the first term, unexpired term, was basically a full term. The second term, 2019. Price, the first term, unexpired term was a full term. Second term, full term. Sarton, no, Taylor.
Yeah, Sarton, she was initially appointed in 2017 to fill an unexpired term of 9 months, then reappointed in 2018, and then that 3-year term, and then 2021 through 2023 was the second term.
But see, I don't look at Sarton again. That first term was 9 months, so she is should be technically eligible. But I don't think it's Sarton. It looks like it might be well, not yet. You see what I'm saying? Haynes, Leak. Who's next? Price. Okay. And Sarton served 9 months. Oh, I see. Her first term, and then she served
her first full term. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
The first full 3-year term was started in 2018.
Yeah. Okay. So Leak, Haynes, Price, Sarton, and Taylor. Yeah. And then the 2 members who resign. Are there any questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay, Commissioner McKinney. Yes.
I just wonder what this means for conducting business and business that has been conducted in this past, in these past meetings, this past year. Are we able to get any more work done? And do we have to say goodbye to our commissioners who are no longer eligible to serve?
The way it works, you serve until replaced, and this is essentially how the question came up. Ms. Barnes, who's on the part of the meeting today, was trying to basically determine which commissioners were eligible for reappointment and which commissioners needed to be replaced. And so you serve until appointed or replaced. So she's in the process of commencing the procedure for replacing commissioners. So that's how the question came up. And she can certainly, explain what that process looks like. So right now, for the ones we've identified that are no longer eligible for reappointment, she will commence that process to find your replacement. Does that make sense? So you continue to conduct business, and once your replacement has been found, you'll be appointed by City Council. Certainly, you'll be notified of that.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Commissioner Williams.
Good afternoon again, and thank you for agreeing to have this meeting with us. But I kind of want to get some context, if I could, so that I can get a greater understanding. I hear you when you say that this information was compiled by Ms. Linda Jackson Barnes, and that's how.
Go ahead.
And that's how the question came about.
No, this information, the chart you're looking at, was compiled by my assistant city attorney, Ms. Red. She's on the call in the meeting as well. In fact, she just literally finished this. So I'm seeing it today, which is part of the reason I was trying to get all the terms as well. I had previously looked at Leak and Haynes, Commissioner Leak and Haynes, and determined basically that their terms had ended some time ago. The other ones I'm just seeing today. But the question came up, I think we were aware that Thompson and Moran needed to be replaced because of resignations. So at that time, I think the question came up as to whether or not there were other commissioners who needed to be replaced as well because of their term limits specified in the code. Certainly Ms. Barnes can answer that question, but I believe that's how it came up to begin with. But it was my staff who literally put this together and just finished literally moments ago.
Okay. So I still have questions. So is this a yearly process, or how is this data collected? How often is it requested, and who collects it, and who's responsible or should be responsible for ensuring that we, the commissioners, are aware or have been kept abreast of our tenure prior to today? Because to my knowledge, this is the first time that that we have had this type of conversation. And I'm just kind of wondering, how did we get here? And is this a routine process? And if so, why is it all just kind of hitting us at once?
So I can answer that.
Okay.
I'm Linda Jackson Barnes. This is not the first time. I'm the director of the mayor's office. This is one of many tasks that I'm responsible for. This is an ongoing process for the mayor's office, and this is routine, actually. The question had been asked many times of the Human Relations Commission office about documents and information to substantiate why particularly Leek and Haynes was still on the board. And so we're here today because I never received those documents. And so the city attorney's office was on those emails. And so we were back and forth about that. Yes, we do have term limits for this particular board. And I was getting information that they were on there for one reason or the other, and without the proper documentation. And so this is what led us to here today. I was aware of the others as well. And so those emails ask those questions as well. This is not the only board. We have over 34 boards and commissions, and some of the rules are the same. Now, each board is evaluated differently depending on what the city ordinance is. And so I hope I'm answering your question. But this is why we're here today, because we did not receive the proper information to substantiate for some of the commissioners to stay on the board, which we knew that we did not have that proper documentation for them to continue to serve, because there are a term limit for this particular board.
Well, my question is,
can I piggyback on that for a second? Let me just say, because I've been with the city probably at this point now almost 36 years. And I've served as staff liaison to one board primarily, and that was the Citizen Police Review Board. And I did so until I became the city attorney. And as staff assigned to that board, I maintain a roster of the members. And on that roster, I listed their appointment dates, the date of appointment, when that term expired, and whether or not that was a full term based upon the language I gave you all earlier, and their second term when that commenced and expired. So I kept up with when it was time to notify the mayor's office that a member was eligible for reappointment or replacement. And that was my responsibility as a staff member, and the members of that committee received just about every meeting an update of that membership and their status. And of course, when I became the city attorney, I turned that over. I think it was Al Andrews at the time, and now Ms. Red has that responsibility. So I've always thought it was the responsibility of the person assigned to that committee, or at least the department head, to maintain that information and to reach out to the mayor's office when it was time for a reappointment to occur or replacement to occur.
And thank you for adding that, Angela, because yes, each board and commission has what we call staff person, chief of staff that works with each board and commission. They attend those meetings. Our office may or may not. Most of the time we do not. Like I said, we have over 34 different boards and commissions. So each staff person is assigned to each board and commission. They're responsible to work directly with each board and commission. They let us know when board members either do not attend, when they resign, whatever is needed. When they do have vacancies, what those skills are that are needed. My responsibility is to know what the city ordinance is, so that when those appointments are needed, that I process them within the city ordinance, the city law, and work directly with the city attorney's office. And so it is a coordinated effort and a communication effort that is, of course, properly needed in order for us to complete the task.
Yes,
So-
ma'am. Excuse me. I still.
Well, Commissioner Williams, yeah.
So, and I think I understand the information that's just been conveyed, but I'm left in a quandary because now it is the commission is going to be it's kind of been disrupted, right? Because now we are just finding out because A did not communicate with B, and as a result, C is being impacted, either by having individuals to stay on the commission longer than what than their term, right? And so now we are faced with the possibility of these individuals staying on until replacements have been made. And it really would have been great if the commission could have been kept abreast of the time, because it's from 2018 and here we are in 2024, and this data is collected routinely. And I understand you to say that there were some discrepancies or continuity in receiving this updated information, but so what procedures or policies have been put in place to ensure that this is not something that can be prevented going further?
This is data that should have been collected by staff assigned to the commission, the Human Relations Commission. Why that did not occur and why that was not tracked, I don't know. So going forward, I would have expressed to that staff with the commission, with the department, that they need to maintain the information basically that you have displayed before you on an ongoing basis, which is the same thing that, like I said, when I had the Citizen Police Review Board, I did it monthly, and it transitioned to the next attorney and then the attorney after that. So it's been maintained for probably at this point, decades. And so the staff that's assigned to the Human Relations Commission should maintain this going forward.
Well, this is not the same data chart that we have as commissioners. This is not, I was told when I came on, you did state, Attorney Carmen, that I was fulfilling someone else's expired term, but from the data that I had from the Human Relations Department side internally, it did not say 2018. It stated that I was going to end my term in 2026, 24, something like that. I can't remember. I was trying to pull it up on my email, but we had to start our meeting, and so I'm just, I'd
like to see that because it sounds
Okay.
like somebody didn't go by the language in the code. You have to go by the ordinance itself. I understand that there was some bylaw amendment that indicated that the time period during COVID did not count. That is not consistent with the law. The city code is the law. And that provision is not allowed by city code. Your term is set by city code. So the bylaw provision, and I've looked at the bylaws recently, did not have them before this matter came up. There are a number of provisions in the bylaws that are not consistent with city code or state law, which I've expressed to the director. So whatever you had beforehand did not literally track what's in the code.
Well, and I would say that I received, and she did send me an email stating that 2026 date, and I asked for documentation to substantiate those dates, and I did not receive any documentation to substantiate that date, which again does not, because again, you have been on the board since 2013, and there's no documentation that would justify you staying on a board that has 3 years term for 2-term appointment, for you to be still on there, regardless of when you were appointed, even unexpired terms that would allow you to still be on there over 10 years later.
Yeah, well, like I stated, how would we would have known that? I would have never known.
Oh, I don't. We're not blaming you.
Yeah,
not at all. Yes.
Yeah. But and I do know that even with some of the vacant some of the vacant resignations that we have, those commissioners, their positions have not been fulfilled yet. So this really leads us into a complex situation on this commission. We're looking at 4, 5, 6, possibly 7 new commissioners been appointed to the Human Relations Commission. And then we have to also see that when these 7 commissioners, when they are retired off of this commission, whenever those appointees are appointed to this commission, that we're going to have a makeup of new, possibly freshmen on this commission. So there has not really been a preparation for a succession plan in regards to making sure that the work, I know the work will move forward with the help of the staff, but at the same time, there's not been a succession plan with veteran commissioners assisting our freshman commissioners with the work of the Human Relations Commission. So that is my concern. And again, I do remember being appointed in 2013, but my thoughts were that I was fulfilling someone else's unexpired term, which you all stated that. You stated that, but I thought that my full term will begin after I fulfill that person's unexpired term. So this is not the information I was gathering.
I don't know what you were told, but again, we have to go by what the law says. Mm-hmm. And what you have before you is your term length calculation based upon the law, what the code says. And it's not uncommon.
City law. And
yes,
city
it's
law.
City code. Yes.
Okay. Can you bring that up? Can we see that?
Sure, I'll be happy to.
Okay.
And it's not uncommon.
You want me to pull up the ordinance?
Yeah, that'd be fine. It's not uncommon to have, it's Division 8 of Chapter 2. It's not uncommon to have as many as half, if not more, of commissioners to come off of a board. Because a lot of times you have commissioners half appointed for a 2-year term, some appointed for a 3-year term, just so you can have that staggered commission makeup. So I understand your concern about having 6 or 7 members who need to be replaced. But again, that is because the code was not followed. Right. And I think Assistant City Attorney Red will pull up that provision in the code and put it on the screen.
And you also stated something, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Commissioner McKinney, Commissioner Hayes, I'm sorry. I'll wait.
Well, no, I was going to say that, and again, even if you did fulfill someone an unexpired term, which would have been 3, we can go full term. In 2013, if you had came in and did the full term of 3 years, that would have been 2016. And then another 3 terms would have been 16, 17, 18, 19. That would have been your second full term. So even with 2 full terms, you should have been off the board in 2019. So even on 2 full terms would have been 2019. So whether you fulfilled an unexpired term of 50% less or more, it would not have mattered. You would have had 2 full terms of 6 years. So regardless, I've heard many different arguments. I've heard many different commission own rules about the pandemic and how things changed and many different debates. However, I think Mr. Leek or Reverend Leek, the email that you received from Mayor Jones is that we follow, and as you know, I was copied on, that we are governed to follow the city ordinance, the city law, irregardless of our interpretation. And our preference is that we are governed to follow city law and city ordinance. We all have a passion for many different things, but that's how we govern.
Yeah.
I have a quick question, if I may.
Yes.
Sure.
Mr. McKinney.
You had said that commissioners can continue to serve until until a replacement is appointed instead. Is that correct?
Yes.
And it is the city council that makes those appointments?
It's the mayor that makes the recommendation to the city council.
To the city council. Yes, very good. Now, to continue with that, if the city has not appointed somebody to replace a chair or a commissioner, how long in the interim period can that commissioner serve until they're appointed? I mean, is there a length of period that the city council must do that work to replace them, or can this go for another 4-year period until they appoint somebody? As of right now, we have many vacancies. We have 2 vacancies for sure. We have people that have now served longer than what the code says. But as stated, we are definitely going to be at a much smaller commission if we have to go by these guidelines right now, because those replacements have yet to be appointed or recommended to the mayor. So how long can that interim period until a replacement is appointed, can that commissioner serve?
So you would not be a smaller board. I would say that. Right. So I think the city attorney has stated this is not a unique situation where there could be 50% of a board having new board members, or even sometime 90 or a brand new board. We do have that happen. There are boards sometimes that are completely new. So this is not uncommon. Again, staff is responsible of not only training and educating and bringing board members up to speed on what is needed, but also making sure that task is completed. And so, but to answer your question, no, it would not be years, it would be months. And we will strategically, once again, work with staff to process those recommendations with staff to replace those who need to be replaced on the board, but it would not be years.
Okay, and just to follow up, there is no specific set guideline for how long a commissioner can serve in limbo until they are a replacement is appointed. There's no specific time, is that correct?
Commissioner McKinney, you basically serve until replaced. So Ms. Barnes has indicated that process may take months. So once that process has concluded with council, basically appointing the replacement for these members who are no longer eligible, then they will be notified and basically replaced with whomever's been appointed. That
okay, very good. Thank you so very much.
May take months, yes.
Yeah, and I want to, and you know, to be transparent, Mr. McKinney, I want you to know that questions have been asked for months. So we have been waiting. And so we have already waited for several months, attempting to ascertain answers, to be fair and to be honest, for each of you who are being questioned on this. So there are many things that we already have in place. And so I won't say this will be done expeditiously, but we will move forward within months and making some recommendations, because we've been working on this for over a year.
Well, go ahead. I'll let Commissioner Haynes.
Thank you so much. First of all, good afternoon to everyone, and thank you for taking the time to meet with us this afternoon. My question is related to Commissioner McKinney's, and I believe I can speak for myself and what I know about my fellow commissioners, that some of the passion that you're hearing is because our overarching concern is that the crucial and beneficial work of this commission is carried on with continuity. So my question is, how many applications are currently under review at the mayor's office to fill the 5 vacant positions? And it looks like the 6th position that will need to be replaced in short order.
We have several applications, and the process itself is that citizens can always apply for boards and commissions. And so we look at diversity. We know that this is one board that has diversity. We have a couple of board members that we appointed, and one of the questions were, we were a bit surprised that one of them who were eager to serve quickly resigned. We don't know to this date why that happened. So that's the other thing. When we do appoint members to boards, we want to make sure that they're comfortable in serving. And so we want to make sure that we have addressed all of the needs of the existing board. But we do have some applications on file, and we will make sure that that things completely move forward.
Now, we have reached out to the mayor's office a couple of times, even before this situation, about some vacancies on this commission, and and there were times that we didn't hear anything from that office.
Well, again, Mr. Lee, Mayor Jones, and I don't know what that means, but Mayor Jones,
well, what it means,
Mayor Jones make the recommendation to the city council, and the council, the mayor and city council makes the recommendations to boards and commissions. I have had conversations with the staff person who work with the board, and I have shared through the years with those, but at the same time, sometimes other board members may think that they make those recommendations. Again, Mayor Jones look at citizens' applications and make those recommendations.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. For example, I'll just give an example. We had a former commissioner who was an attorney, and he served on the commission, but he resigned. And so we asked from the mayor's office, could we, because we have an ad hoc nominating committee. And so we also looked at the application ourselves on the ad hoc nominating committee, and then we took our recommendation to the mayor's office, and we still didn't hear anything about.
Okay, once again, and I remember having this conversation with Wanda, that if y'all have recommendation, this is what a lot of departments do. And again, I don't know why it didn't work. If you have recommendations of people you would like, you can do that. But, and I don't mean, again, to be transparent, to tell him who you want can be a bit of, I don't even know what word. Again, Mayor Jones he looks at his applications. He makes the recommendations of who he wants to appoint and make to the council. Other boards and commissions do not, control and tell him who to pick. And there were times that there was a bit control factor. And so therefore, finally, we were told categories of what was needed. We listened to those categories. When there's a need for Hispanic, if there was a need for a particular ethnic category or disability, those categories we listened, but to tell us who, that is not the responsibility of any particular board that Mayor Jones is responsible for. He listens to the citizens and the applicants who apply. So no particular board is responsible to nominate and tell him who he is to nominate. You can make recommendations at any time, and he listens to those recommendations. He listens to those categories of need, the skills of need. And I have shared that to Wanda through the years, 20 plus years, of what that process is.
Chairman Leake, if I can, I'm going to ask my staff person, Assistant City Attorney Red, to display sections 2-213 and 212 on the screen. 212 is membership, and 2-213 is terms of office, terms of members and vacancies. And I want those displayed, starting with the membership, because I think, again, the categories of membership, I think, is what the mayor's office and the mayor are looking at to try to achieve in accordance with the code. Then, of course, the other section deals with the terms, and it talks about the 3-year terms.
Can you see him?
No, not yet. The chart is still displayed.
Let's see.
And I do want to say this real quick before we get this move to the document. I don't want us to keep this meeting too long, because I know this is a work day for all of us. So, Commissioner Weeks, you want to go ahead and make a comment real quick?
Oh, I was trying to get my thoughts, and I want to be clear. I don't think that when we looked at applications that were given to us or shared with us to review, when we review those candidates, we review them as recommendations to the office that make the appointments. We in no term attempted to tell or we merely made recommendations. We were not trying to say who we wanted. This is who we should have. And we also looked at and kept abreast of what diversity we needed or was missing. So we always looked at those to try to make sure that we had the diversity. But our application reviewer process was merely that it was reviewed for recommendations to be shared with the office that made those appointments. And with all due respect to the mayor and to the office and the staff, we would never overstep our boundaries to make said or imply anything of the sort. It was all in as a commission functioning together to make recommendations for looking at applications of individuals that we thought would mesh well, that would do this work, that we could build that camaraderie with, and those were just that. Our recommendations to that office, whether they were selected or not, those were recommendations that we submitted, never to overstep our boundaries.
Thank
you.
And
I'm sure the same is greatly appreciated by the mayor's office, because again, it's always good to get those recommendations from the commission itself, as well as other folks in the community. Real quickly, because I know you all have to leave, section 2-212 is membership. The Human Relations Commission shall be composed of 13 members, at least 7 of whom shall be members of a minority ethnic groups, who shall be appointed by City Council upon recommendation of the mayor for terms indicated in 2-213. And all must be residents of the city. 2-213 is where it says the term is basically 3 years, beginning in January and December, and hold office until their successors are appointed and qualified. Any vacancy resulting from cause other than expiration shall be filled only for the unexpired portion of the term. Then it goes into removal and so forth. But the terms are 3 years. I can have Keisha pull up 2-62 that talks about consecutive terms and what constitutes a full term.
So basically, in regards to when we implemented in our bylaws, in regards to the pandemic, we basically don't have a commission that really doesn't set any weight, basically.
No, it's actually contrary to what I'm getting ready to show you. Because the code itself talks about, again, consecutive terms. You can serve 2 consecutive terms. And it says basically if you're serving an unexpired portion of the term, Keisha, can you put it back up?
Okay.
Unexpired portion of a term. If it's less than 50%, that doesn't count as a term. But if it's more than 50%, that counts as a term. So to me, by putting in that pause on your term because of the pandemic, you basically extended your term more than 3 years, contrary to 2-212, 2-213 rather, and then 2-62. So the commission does not have the authority to put a pause on that term when council has specifically said your term is 3 years and did not put that pause or authorize that pause on the term. And like I said, there are some other inconsistencies in the bylaws relating to what appears to be commission authority over staff and to engage in making reviews of staff, the hiring of the director and retaining of the director. That particular provision was removed from the code almost 10 years ago. There are other provisions relating to state law regarding public records and access to that. That's not quite consistent with state law. But to answer your question, Commissioner Leek, that bylaw provision essentially putting a pause in your term or the counting of the term is contrary to city code. It was not authorized.
And I assume that section B that says if the board and commission application process does not yield a sufficient pool of applicants, that determination is made by the mayor?
Yes, yes. And usually if that's the case, then that's an opportunity for the mayor's office to reach out and say, are there other folks that commissioner members that you're aware that might be interested? Because they need to increase the applicant pool. But yeah.
So I heard you say set up bylaws. So you all set up additional bylaws for your commission? Is that what happened? I wasn't, is it, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, no, what we did was we implemented into our bylaws. It's the same bylaws that we had. We just added in there in regards to, what was it, Commissioner McKinney?
Yes, Chair Leek, I'm just trying to figure out how to.
It's force majeure, essentially. It was essentially a
lapse. Yes, a force majeure.
Yeah, essentially.
Correct.
At putting a pause on the counting of the term. Let me respond to your statement, Commissioner Lee. I am a person who keeps emails, and I actually had, when I was an assistant city attorney, the bylaws going back to 2004. And so when I saw your current bylaws, there is a substantial difference between your bylaws today and the bylaws that were back in 2004, not only in terms of the force majeure clause that basically allows to put a pause on the term or counting of the time for the term, but like I said, some other things relative to retaining and appointing of the director and staff, and those changes were made in the city code about 10 years ago. So it does appear that some changes were made since 2004, and then other changes that should have been made were not made. But the bylaws, I mean, yes, boards and commissions are allowed to have those bylaws, adopt bylaws, but they have to be consistent with the city code. And so that provision that we're talking about today is not consistent with the city code.
So does all the board members who are serving now, do each of you live within the city limits of Winston-Salem?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure because like Angela said, that your bylaws must be consistent with the city bylaws. And so for you to have some that's not consistent, I just needed to make sure that that is one as well that is consistent with the city bylaws.
Ms. Barnes, I looked at their bylaws, I think it was at the end of last week, and that was not anything that was inconsistent with the city code. I sent Wanda an email, Ms. Allen Abraham, an email outlining the provisions that I thought were inconsistent with state law and city code. But it appears that the residency provision is intact.
Okay, and that they all definitely live within the city limits. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Attorney Red, there was something else wanted to share. One of the other things that we were looking at in our bylaws when you all made reference to attendance and keeping up with you know, that matter. And that was one of the things that we were going to look into putting into our bylaws. But, you know, as we continue to converse, I thought, you know, we as a commission thought it was best that we have this opportunity to sit with you all to make sure that we we're all on the same page before we advance with continuing making some addendums to those documents. But one of them is about attendance. So have you guys, have your department, have they been keeping up with said attendance? And if so, what measures are there in place to address commissioners or on any board and to have those addressed? Because that was one thing that we were going to look at adding into our documents.
Let me chime in. Basically, it is up to the staff person assigned to the commission to keep up with attendance. And I will tell you that a number of boards and commissions have in their bylaws attendance provisions. Some do not. The city council will be asked to look at fairly shortly an attendance provision to be included in the city code for all boards and commissions, because quite frankly, there have been occasions where there has been a lack of attendance that has basically caused the board or commission not to have a quorum to conduct business. It's not often, but it has happened. So council will be asked in the next month or so to look at a uniform attendance policy. That does not mean that and it has specific language in it that says this is setting a floor, a minimum, that a board, commission, or committee can have a more stringent policy. But this will be simply the floor, not the ceiling.
Okay. And then I asked a question early on. I'm not quite sure if I got the answer. So again, this documentation is supposed to be collected. Is it yearly? So whoever the person is, that the employee who works alongside of the commission, their goal or one of their duties or responsibilities are to collect this data yearly, right?
Again,
accurate records. So if they're collecting accurate records, they should be submitting those accurate records, and then we should be informed on a yearly basis as to what that looks like as we update our demographic information. Is that what should happen, and it has not happened? And as a result, here we are today having these said conversations, and about to be 5 to 7 commissioners short. given
You won't
the
be
current
short.
ones
You won't be short.
continue to shorten their term. I mean,
Yeah,
until
you won't be.
until they
You
appoint.
won't. Sorry, you won't be short because you serve until replaced. Now, as I said before, when I serve as direct staff liaison to a city board, I updated the information monthly. So they got it at every meeting. That's just how I perform my duty. Yes, I think at least annually it should be updated by the staff person, but it may be more than annually because you may have changes within the year. And when there are changes like a resignation, so somebody comes off, you need to update it and show that Commissioner so-and-so has resigned. That resignation date was effective whenever it occurred, and that there is a vacancy that needs to be filled. So that may be every 6 months, it may be annually, whenever there is a change. I just took the position of doing it monthly, or whenever the board met. Sometimes that was monthly, sometimes it was quarterly, depending upon whether or not they had a need for a case review.
Well,
yeah, I just want to, excuse me.
I'm just glad that we had this opportunity. So you're also, so with the other 34 boards or commissions, are they having to have these same types of conversations with you? Because frankly, I thought we were just going to be having a conversation. I didn't know that it had to be recorded, but it is good that it is, because it's training. It gives us the opportunity to kind of to go back and look at where we can make improvements. But it, just appears as though the commission, I love the work that we do on this commission. I have the greatest respect for the work and elevating individuals in our community. However, and this is what I'll do respect, I feel like a little bit of the wind has been taken out of my sail, because we did not operate in the knowledge of understanding and knowing in timely fashion, regardless to the commissioners being in place until someone is appointed. This is a difficult lesson to learn for us all, but once we learn these lessons, we know how to conduct ourselves better moving forward. And I would just like to add that, because this is my job, is to prepare residents to serve on public boards and commissions. This is a good opportunity for me to learn so that I can better prepare those that I'm preparing to sit in these seats, what they should know. Because when you are armed with information, you can make informed decisions. And when you don't, you have what we have here. You have disenfranchising of a group of people, a group of community residents who are advocates and want to make where we live a better place. And for those that are coming behind us, I do hope that we have learned from this so that those individuals will not be impacted by the same barriers or hiccups or inconsistencies or lack of communication or incorrect data or whatever may have gotten us here, that it is not a repeat, right? And so anytime you can learn from an experience, it wasn't for nothing, it was for something. It's just that somebody has to be the student, right, in order for us to learn. And it's, so I feel better by saying that, and I will abide by whatever guidelines are set forth in order for us to operate correctly and to try to make sure that we move more unified in the future. But it's making sure that we do have that transparency and that authentic communication so that people can move accordingly.
Right.
I appreciate those comments. I want to say that we appreciate the service of all commissioners.
Right.
And the reason I wanted to have this meeting with you all was so I could explain myself, having been here for as long as I have, how the process works. I really don't know how it got off track, but my goal was to make sure it got back on the train track, and hopefully stay that way going forward. I do not know how you all operate when new commissioners come on board. Again, I can only tell you from what I did as the staff person assigned to the Citizen Police Review Board. Every time a new, sorry, my iPad's getting low on juice. But every time a new commissioner came on board, I actually had training for that commissioner. I would go over the code provision pertaining to the Citizen Police Review Board, the ethics policy, public records law, and open meetings law. And so to me, that was the standard. And so when I transitioned into my current role, the attorney that became the assigned attorney for the Citizen Police Review Board took up that responsibility, carried it out, and that is now what Assistant City Attorney Red does for the Citizen Police Review Board. I'm not sure how that works for the Human Relations Commission, but that would be my suggestion to staff, that going forward, that be conducted every time a new commissioner come on board. And I will tell you that my office is in the process of putting together a training video on ethics, public records, and open meetings law that will be available to all board members, committee members, commissioners, and so forth in the near future, with the expectation that all will review and sign a certification that they have reviewed those training videos. But I will certainly talk with the human relations staff to make sure you have a more concerted, intentional training process.
Thank you. Thanks for that. We appreciate that.
We can't hear you.
Oh, yeah, you're muted.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thanks for that. I do want to ensure that moving forward that we are definitely on the same page with everyone. So moving forward, a few notes that I've made today, just to make certain that we are, again, on the right page. We definitely want to, as a department, keep a very active term chart. We want to also ensure that we are checking in with Mrs. Barnes at least annually on our HR commissioner status. We want to, of course, notify each commissioner of their term and or term logistics when changes are made. We also want to ensure that we are keeping a very active attendance record. And of course, doing our training of new commissioners, we definitely ensure that we are covering codes and policies as written. Am I missing anything?
I would make a suggestion, again, having been the staff person for the Citizen Police Review Board. I would say provide that membership information at every commission meeting or every other meeting, because we also use that chart for the commissioners to let us know if there were changes in the address, email, contact information. That served as that notification to each member. Let us know now if something's changed. So I would say every meeting or every other meeting. I would not wait to do it on an annual basis. That would be my recommendation.
We was doing it every month. We was doing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It just didn't have the membership status on it, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Angela. Dr. Christian, I was going to say that, not annually. I'd be glad to talk to you offline, sit down and have a conversation with you about your needs. I'll be more than happy to meet with your board as you transition and get new board members to be available to answer any questions. It will be a smooth transition for new board members, and we work with you to find out how we need to do that. This is unfortunately common. We do value all of our volunteers. We recognize that you all are volunteers. We value that. And so we will work with you to see how we need to do that. For those who don't know me, I've been with the mayor since 2001, since he first became mayor. And I have a passion for all of the boards and commissions except one, sustainability. I love the beauty, but I would just be so bored if I had to sit and listen to grass and dirt and trees. But I do want things to look good. I'm a people person. So other than that, I think we will get along just great. I look forward to the transition of this board. Like Attorney Angela said, after your year, you are welcome to serve on any other board. After 3 years, you're welcome to come back to the Human Relations Board if there's a vacancy, and if we do not have others who have been waiting for a while that have not served. And so there are processes and there are other needs for other boards and commissions as well. So my office is also welcome if you have any questions that you feel free to email me or give me a call, but I do look forward to working with the Human Relations Commission during all of this.
And I'll commit my staff, Attorney Red, to doing the training sessions that I mentioned for your new board members as well. And if there's an additional training session for the existing members, we'll do whatever is necessary to make sure everybody's on the same page.
And one thing I wanted to mention for Dr. Christian, because I do this for the Citizens Police Review Board, what we notice is that we have clumps of members. So it might be 3 that are appointed at the same time, 2 appointed. And in my experience, it takes about 60 to 90 days. So if I know a term is ending in December, I'll reach out to the mayor's office and say September and say, these are the members who will be rolling off at the end of this year, so that we don't have a situation where a member's term has expired, but they're continuing to have to serve because their appointment has not been replaced, because we realize this is a volunteer board and we want to be respectful of our board members' time. So just kind of get ahead of it. Is a way that we ensure that continuity is there. And that's just a practice point I'd offer to your staff.
And I've encouraged other board members to do that. Get started early in that process.
Question.
Yes.
I keep hearing this term. Who is the staff person that should be maintaining this information, so we know who we should be receiving this information from? Because if there's a gatekeeper, who is it? Because evidently we didn't know who it was, or I don't know. But going forward, who is the staff person? Since Attorney Carmen, you said that when you were in said position, this is what you did. So now that Attorney Red is in this position, so who's the staff person that should be maintaining this information for us to readily access, or if we have questions without having to come to your office?
Assistant Director Ronnie Christian, you want to answer that? I was designated because I was actually here when the Citizen Police Review Board was created. I actually wrote the ordinance. So my boss designated me as the staff person, and I said, fine. Now, as far as the Human Relations Commission, I'm not sure who that person is. And maybe Assistant Director Ronnie Christian can answer that.
Sure, yeah. So it has been Miss Carlin Duncan. So she has been overseeing and working directly with Mrs. Wanda Ellen Abrahai on that. So she will continue to be our point of contact.
Well, I just want to say that I echo the sentiments of Commissioner Wiggins, but just to know that my term possibly ended. I can't remember the chart date that it stated, but just to see that we are in 2024 and now it has taken this long for Commissioner Haynes and I to basically retire off this commission. This says a lot to the city that, there has been some missing pieces, because we in this complex situation that we're in. Now, I don't know what has happened internally, but I know what was given to us as commissioners. And but I respect that, you know, when it's our time to go, it's our time to go. But at the same time, that it's just a concern. It's a concern. It really is.
And
It's taking this long, and it's 2024, and now we're having conversations about two commissioners and a chair of the commission
I understand
that has to basically possibly give up his position because I was not provided the right appropriate information. But I'm fine with it, with a decision that we need to make, because I understand that there are rules and there are procedures as well. But moving forward, my hope is that, like Commissioner Wiggins stated, is that we can prepare better and we can do better as well for this commission. So that's all I want to say.
But
The only thing I add to that, with all due respect, Chairman, I think part of the problem and maybe part of the reason there was not that communication that should have occurred was that bylaw provision that put a pause in the term. Because if you're going based upon that bylaw provision, someone might think that their term was actually longer than it was, but that bylaw provision was inconsistent with the city code and not authorized. And so I think that may have contributed a little bit to the delay. But regardless of how it happened going forward, I think we're now on the same page and in the same understanding and same space that in terms of what needs to happen.
And Mr. Chair, I want to reiterate for the record, and I say this because you said, I mean, it sounded as though you were perplexed as to why we're here today. I want to make clear for the record that for me in this office, at the time, the department head I was working with, and for over a year, I was asking for documentations to substantiate why you and the other person was still on the board. So I've been attempting to get this information, and unfortunately, during these processes and some other obstacles, this is why we're here. So it's not like we have not, or this office have not been trying. So for the record, I just want to make sure that it's understood that we've been trying, and there are documentations of emails back and forth trying to do that. And this is why we're here today. And I never received any written documentations to justify why two of the commissions are still serving. And again, that's why I said whether you came and worked, why two served 50% less or 50% more, the terms would have ended in 2019. So I just have to say that for the record.
Yeah, but
thank you all so much for the term, and I don't want to continue to reiterate, but I just want to say that for the record.
Okay, it's 2:50, y'all. I don't want to prolong this meeting. Commissioner Weeks, you have something to say?
I guess I was just going to address Attorney Carmen. I don't, to my recollection, we started that bylaw piece, and before we could get through that bylaw piece, we felt like we needed to have conversations with you all. That's why we requested to meet with you as well at our meeting, because we didn't have the clearest of understandings. And so before we continue to move on and putting information in the bylaws, we wanted to know what we could and could not do. We wanted to have that understanding. So we asked for that meeting. So there was that documentation was not in the bylaws to prohibit us from knowing or continuing to serve with their terms being, we hadn't put that pause break in there yet. We were at that cusp, and that's when we requested to have this meeting. So that's how, we wanted to to be able to have that understanding. So that information was not in the bylaws. We had not put any of that information. What we were going to work on, like I stated, that plus the attendance, because we do have commissioners who have attendance issues. And so we wanted to address that along with ensuring that we wasn't just putting information in a document and it was frivolous. We wanted to make sure that we had information in that document that would work, that would be a workable document. We didn't know that we should have had the codes that you shared with us in order to understand. And that was one of the reasons we said, hey, we need to speak with somebody. I wanted to know what we could do and couldn't do before we went forward with that document.
I appreciate that, but I did ask for the current bylaws, and that language is actually in the current bylaws. And staff was also told that because of that language, the terms basically that
she had to get off.
I think her iPad may have died.
That's that. Chair Leak, I motion that we adjourn.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and adjourn. Let's go ahead and adjourn. Let's go ahead and adjourn. All right. Everybody have a good weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all take care. And Commissioner Wiggins, thank you for clarifying that at the end.
You're welcome, sir. Take care.
That was very important information. Y'all, good work. I guess I'll see y'all at the next meeting.
Yes, sir. Take care. Have a great
Take care.